DAE feels so proud when they make someone laugh? I replay it over and over in my head afterwards. It makes me so happy to think about. Yes. Making people smile is a big part of why I chose my profession. Yes. This is called validation. Being validated feels good. Yes, the downside here is the fact that I validate myself based on this, but that's a topic for a different day. I'm a pretty awkward person and lack social skills, but I have a friend who laughs, genuinely laughs, at all my jokes. That makes me so happy. I work in a factory and do everything I can to put smiles on my coworkers' faces any chance I get. My family, on the other hand, is always doing the same for me. Jesus called clowning with the homies and kissing them for goodnight is good for mental. What was the saddest fictional character death for you? Spoiler for Better Call Saul, and hashtag X200B, greater than, Howard Hamlin from Better Call Saul. Less than, greater than, the guy just doesn't catch any break despite being the kindest yet the most professional guy in the world of BCS. Less than, greater than, and what does he get for not just tolerating but also being empathetic and helpful to the worst bunch of people? He does not even get to complete the only nervous breakdown he had. He get killed in the middle of nervous breakdown by the person who just blows his brains out for absolutely no reason. Less than. Henry Blake. MASH, the scene in the operating room. The actors weren't told about it, just called back for one last scene shoot and Radar walks in and tells them. The silence is amplified by the sounds of instruments still working. Haunting. Pops from regular show. He was the literal embodiment of good and he died saving the universe from and with his brother. He was such an innocent and friendly guy who was kind to everyone he met. I still tear up seeing the finale to this day. Honestly, I was really invested in God, up to a point, and Hodor's whole story and death were so depressing. Just one of those characters that deserves so much better. Saving Private Ryan has two of the saddest, most brutally gut-wrenching deaths I've ever seen on screen in Wade and Mellish. Wade trying to talk the guys through his injury that goes from panic and terror to acceptance of his own death as he cries out for his mother and says, "I want to go home." Jesus Christ. Mellish is brutal for all the more uncomfortable and raw reasons you'd imagine. War is horrific. Young men are sent off to die and their lives are cut short for no reason. It's tragic and heartbreaking, and this is one of the only movies to really nail that feeling. Tadashi Hamada from Big Hero 6. Dude was working on a robot to help others and died in an attempt to help others. What a guy. Can't choose one, but for what's fresh in my mind, David from Edgerunners. Not particularly emotional in the moment but jarring, and seeing the other characters dead around him built it up. What really got me was Lucy on the moon afterwards. Hit me like a truck then. Brooks, Shawshank Redemption. It was just so sad to see someone so heavily institutionalized, and honestly, I didn't even realize what was happening in that scene until after he had already carved Brooks was here into the beam. It gets me every time. Poor Jake. How did your dad warn your dates when you started dating? Before I introduced my boyfriend to them, I already told them that I have a boyfriend and we've been dating for 2 years. When I brought him home and introduced him to my family, my dad always goes outside the house drinking with his friends and talking behind me and my boyfriend's back. When my boyfriend bought them an alcohol since they asked for it, my father gave him a cold stare like he always do. That cold stare and cold treatment towards him is his warning. But despite of his warning, we're still dating, going 4 years together. My first BF came over when I was 16 and my dad ended up going on a walk with him first thing and ended up being chain-smoking buddies for the 3 months we were together lol. I didn't bring a guy home to meet the family after that until I was sure he was the right guy for me, which happened to be at 23. It was Thanksgiving and my dad was friendly and didn't do anything. My mom on the other hand did the whole "what are your intentions" with my daughter spiel. He didn't. He respects me as a human being and the choices of who I went on dates with, even in high school. He would let me know if he didn't like my boyfriends, but it was always a private conversation between the two of us and never in front of the guy I was with. When my husband and I talked about getting engaged, I asked my dad if he wanted my now husband to ask his permission. My dad's response was, "Why? I'm not marrying him." And quote. As a mom of boys, I will throw down with any dad who warns my sons when taking their daughters on a date. Like many have said, he didn't, because he's not a misogynist. He also made it very clear that if anyone asked for his permission to marry me, he would consider it a huge red flag. He said that his opinion should not matter if we've gotten to that point in a relationship. My now spouse did inform him and my mom as a courtesy before he proposed, but there was no asking for permission involved. Having progressive parents has been a huge blessing in so many ways. For the most part, he didn't. There was a guy who knew my dad who decided to try and date me. This guy and I were total opposites, particularly politically. Before hitting on me, he asked permission from my dad. I was 30 plus, BTW. My dad responded to the effect of "she's the one you need to be afraid of, not me." And quote. The other time was right after my husband told my dad he was going to propose. My dad let it be known that if my husband ever laid hands on me, which he never has, and isn't that kind of person, he'd have to reckon with my dad. In your experience, what is that one thing you did that got women attracted to you the most? I'm no massive ladies' man, but I have always gotten a decent amount of flirtation and compliments in my life. But the period in which I got the most in the shortest period would have been when I started being more confident, wearing nicer clothes, and always wearing cologne. My big selling point seems to be my hands. 3 women pointed out my veiny hands in a couple months, and I had noticed myself getting checked out a few times while out in public. Might not sound like much to some guys, but it was a game changer for the guy who was just getting over the thoughts that his ex was the last woman he'll pull. Getting leaner, the more fat I dropped, the more my jawline would show and my V-shape would show. I am now at this point where I get positive attention and women want me. Not in the sense I am this appeal machine, but they notice me. I am seeing a girl now, and when take my pullover off, and my shirt is on but is like going up to and she sees my body, she just touches me and hugs me. I have been cutting and gaining fat for years now. Every time I get leaner, girls enjoy my company more than when I had a lot of tummy and neck fat, while my personality was the same. So yes, losing fat and looking lean helped me a lot. Clothes that fit. Most guys dress half homeless, or if they wear nice clothes they fit poorly. Whatever your style or body shape, wearing well-fitting clothes will immediately make you more attractive. Wear the clothes style your desired woman would find attractive. Lost weight. There was an almost linear increase in the interest women showed in me with the amount of weight I lost. I used to miss some advances from women that, in hindsight, should have been extremely obvious, but the concept of this kind of attention was so alien to me that the possibility didn't even cross my mind. One woman had told me almost verbatim, "Wow, look at those muscles. I'm getting off work soon, do you want to go for a drink?" And it didn't even register in my mind as romantic interest. Be self-sufficient and already working to meet my own needs. I think when women can feel that you want something from them, it's repellent. If I go out with women now, I can just try to enjoy the night and get to know them, rather than me feeling super nervous and like it's a life or death audition. I don't need anything from them, so we might find that we get along, or we might not, and it's cool either way. I think that's why it goes a lot better for me now. I'm already paying what I want to do with my own life, so I'm not looking for anyone to fill a hole in my life. DAE feel like stupid people are the majority? In a world where people don't believe the earth is round, that dinosaurs never existed, that lizard people live among us, that Amber Heard is a victim and not the abuser. It's plain to see that people are not that smart. However, these people are the minority. They are just loud, so it seems like there are more of them. They spend more time on social media to spread their garbage, they are more active posting their rot, and because they are loud, popular media think there are more of them. As they say, think of how smart the average person is. Then realize that half the population is dumber than that person. Honestly, when I'm annoyed I do think, look at this / these morons, WTF is wrong with you and quad. Every day, at the grocery store, when I enter a shop, I keep my head on a swivel and pay attention to my surroundings and know exactly what I need. But tons of people seem to have such little awareness of their surroundings, especially people to stand in the middle of aisles with their carts chatting it up. I assume two things: they are either dumb or I'm hypervigilant. No. You lack extrospection and situational awareness. If you can't come up with a few scenarios / possibilities behind an act or comment someone else committed or said, that might cause them to do / say something you consider stupid. People regularly dumb themselves down to be accepted socially or gain situational influence. One thing I've noticed is that every time I hear the phrase "the majority of people are idiots" and quad, it's said by someone doing poorly in life. If you're constantly surrounded by morons, it doesn't matter if you're the smartest one in the bunch, you're also a moron. Smart people are smart enough to wind up in situations where they're surrounded by like-minded people. Emo, very smart people are mentally consistent, whereas less smart can reach the upper levels but can't maintain it and fall into a sort of clumsiness. For example, a less smart will feel great of himself to give a brilliant speech, but then get into a road rage leaving the hall, forgetting that he has loved ones at home. A smart person will hope the audience will understand his point, then drive home safely knowing he has loved ones at home. Many people can improve their intelligence by reading books. Of course we are numerous. But do you think that their deck is not full because it's the case, or because you can't see their cards? Does not understand their choices because you can't put yourself in their shoes, so just brush it off as illogic or stupid and opos.